So I was just doing some research on a story that I saw about a cop who was choking a 13-year-old kid. And so in doing that research, I stumbled into the rabbit hole of police corruption and racism in Louisiana. So this thing just got a whole lot bigger.
Fly, fall, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, my anonymous guest, back to my channel. And what we'll be doing here today, as I said in the intro, we're going to be exposing some corruption that I uncovered about the Louisiana Police Department. It's going to be, I believe, 3 separate stories, all within months of each other back in 2001. The first up is the initial story that I was researching, what you see on the screen behind me. And it's a situation where the police were called and the report was police were called to a location because there were teens being disturbing the peace. And what you see is the police officer who has a 13-year-old child in a headlock on the ground. And one thing that I've noticed as I was getting prepared to discuss this with you all, as I looked at this still image on the screen, I want you to take a look into the eyes of that young man on the ground. And as I looked into his eyes, I was trying to figure out what emotion was he emitting by his gaze. And so I said, to be in the headlock, he looks pretty calm. And then I said, it's not fear, because he's almost staring into the soul of this police officer, so it certainly isn't fear. It doesn't seem like anger. The expression on his face is pretty bland, pretty monotone. His face is almost expressionless, but his eyes are doing something else. His eyes are saying hatred. The look that this boy is giving this police officer as he stares into his soul is pure, 100% undiluted hatred. It's the type of hatred that you feel when you know in this moment he may have won the battle. But that's the look of that young man will win the war. To have a 13-year-old child in a headlock looking into your soul like that calmly, you should be very worried. You should be very concerned about the type of spirit you have awoken into this young child who isn't even a man yet. And this moment in time for that little boy, I guarantee you it was going in slow motion. This video is only 23 seconds long, but for that young man who was in the zone, time seemed to have stopped around him and everything was in slow motion. And it may have lasted for minutes for him. And he felt a hatred and a sense of vengeance that he may never feel again in his life. I believe we may get maybe one time in our life do we get so much, will we be forced to, or will only maybe once in our lifetime will someone do something to us that will force us to get to this level, to that level of this young man. Some of us may not even get it one time, But this young man got it at a very early age. That sense of calm, still, zoned out, focused hatred. Focused hatred. Looking into the eyes of his enemy. He was remembering him. He would never forget his face. He was remembering his face. He will see him in his dreams. And he would do whatever he desires to that man, that officer, in his dreams, until he gets to the age of a man and he can handle him in other ways that he see fit, or someone dressed in the same uniform. Whether he becomes a lawyer, a defense attorney, and saves and vows his life to save other people from going into the prison system and going into the cog of the machine, or we may have an individual who may seek revenge by other means when they get older and they're stronger. But the look in this young man's eyes is pure, unadulterated hatred, focused hatred. Hatred that says, I am taking a photographic memory of you in my mind. I will never forget your face. And from this point forward, your life will always be in danger. Now, I didn't see this entire video because I didn't want to ruin it. I didn't want to. It was only 23 seconds long, and so I didn't want to, go into the whole 23 seconds. I didn't feel I needed to go into the whole 23 seconds to explain it to you all, because I felt like we could watch it together. So we're going to watch this 23 seconds. Now, in all honesty, I don't know if this young man's facial expression will change. I don't know if he'll start yelling or cursing or fighting back or anything, or if this calm stillness that he feels within himself will dissipate and he just starts being more animated and afraid or whatever. I don't know. But for the video to start like this at 0 seconds and see that calm stillness, man, it's a sight to see. So I'm gonna go ahead and play the video for you guys, and let's see if this look of focused hatred from this young man, if it continues for the entire 23 seconds. Now, I know I read the description and it said that there are people yelling at the cop, saying that telling the cop that he had the kid in a chokehold. I read that part, but I didn't see this video in its entirety, and it's only 23 seconds, but I wanted to share it with you guys so we can watch it together. We probably only have to do it once, but if I feel we have to watch it more than once, if something happens, we'll do that. So here we go.
That's a good boy. Get off your pilot. Get one doing that.
You told me that. You told me to fucking back in my. Let me get him. I don't do that. Hey, don't do it. You take off like that.
That's a good boy. Get off your pilot. Get one doing that.
You told me that. You told me that.
Let's go back a few seconds when that little boy screams out. He makes the chokehold tighter. Right there. So that calm, fearless hatred did leave this young man's facial expression. Did leave his face. And this expression is pain. In what country do police officers find pleasure in inflicting that sort of pain, what you're looking at, on a child? He slightly shifted his weight towards his right shoulder so that he can put his shoulder and bulletproof vest deeper into the neck of that child. What caused him to scream out in pain as he squeezed tighter. He didn't squeeze tighter because the young man was escaping. He squeezed tighter because the young man didn't scream before. And he just wanted to get a little bit, he just wanted to just dig it in just a little bit deeper. Just so he can feel some pain. These are the type of police, these are the type of people who are on the police forces around the country. For whatever reason, they tend to think that black children are not children at all, but they're adults. But that's been common throughout our history of interactions with white people in general in America. They even did studies and surveys that said white people tend to think black people feel less pain. Even in the hospitals, black women are less likely to be offered pain medicine, epidurals. So when the majority of the white people they did a survey on said they believe black people feel less pain, that's part of the reason why they see our children not as children, but as little adults. There's no such thing as a black child in the system of white supremacy. You're just a little adult. There are no kid gloves for black children. Black children are not allowed to be children in a racist system. They're not allowed to have decent childhoods, safe neighborhoods. They're not allowed to make mistakes and get slaps on the wrist for stealing a bag of chips. They're not allowed to play in the park alone with toy guns. They're not allowed to play basketball at a court and be a little loud. But what they are allowed to do is get beat up, shot, and killed by the police. They can do that. Black children are not allowed to go to the store during halftime of a basketball game without being killed. Black children are not allowed to be children. From the moment they exit the womb of a black woman, they have to begin to, unfortunately, take the stance of an adult. But it's our responsibility as black parents to give our children that childhood this nation refuses to let them have. Now, like I said, this was my first time seeing this video. And to see this man, this officer, position himself in order to purposely inflict more pain on a child. Now, I'm sure that's breaking some sort of law or some sort of police policy, because it wasn't like he was getting free. It wasn't like he was losing his grip. It wasn't like he was trying to escape. It wasn't like he didn't have 3 other officers there. It's not like he didn't have an entire community of people telling him that is a child you're choking. Now, if I was on camera choking my goddamn son like that, I guarantee you I get a visit from Child Protective Services and the police, and I probably go to jail, rightfully so. But these police officers, they get the ability to do anything they want to your kids because they're wearing a Halloween costume. That's all it is. These people are no different from me and you. The only thing is that when they go out for work, they have to put on a Halloween costume. And it is that Halloween costume that gives them the righteous indignation to feel that they can do anything they want to your goddamn kids because they have on that Halloween costume. Well, I'm going to tell you this. You're not going to be able to do that shit to all of our children. You may be able to get your arms around someone's kid who may not be home, or who may not be at the site of the incident. But sometimes you have parents there. And there's some of us, when we see you choking our fucking kid, or you pull your gun out on our kid, that's going to come with consequences for you. So, anyway. So, this was the story I was researching when I fell into the rabbit hole of these crazy situations that's going down in Louisiana. Mind you, this was in 2001. It's 2023. I haven't saw this. I haven't heard anything about this. The only reason I think I heard about it now is because maybe they're moving forward with an investigation or something. Here's the article on it. This article was did on March 18th. But it still doesn't say anything about charges or anything about being handed down to this police officer. Now, the first two halves of this article it strangely repeats itself. So you see where it says the video was shared on social media. Hold on. Well, right here it said the video comes at a time. Then right here it says the video comes at a time. It's really weird. So what I'll do, I'm just gonna scroll down, because once I scroll down, that's when the article stops repeating itself. So it says the video comes at a time when police brutality against the black community has received increased attention in the last year. An investigation into what occurred was immediately requested. The Baton Rouge Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome and Police Chief Murphy Paul appear to be complying. We will not avoid these issues, said Broome. I'll make certain that this is thoroughly investigated. The officer's body camera footage was released to the family, and a request was made to the court for it to be made public, which is required because the footage involves a child. The teen's attorney, Ron Haley Jr., has stated that his client has been released from custody and that everyone should wait for the footage before drawing conclusions about the incident. I appreciate Mayor Broome's prompt response and Chief Paul's promises, he said. However, we see far too often in our community obvious police misconduct go unchecked and unpunished. Haley later added that previous unjust events that sparked this moment of change also created a heightened sense of angst and anxiety when it comes to interactions with law enforcement. I'm sure my client didn't wake up on Sunday expect to be in the center of a civil rights controversy, Haley said. That's a lot of pressure for a young person to bear. Broome and Paul are said to have thoroughly reviewed the body camera footage, but have yet to make a decision on potential disciplinary action against the officers involved in the incident. It's 2023, and in my digging, I didn't find any body camera footage. I don't think they ever released it. I'm sure this guy still has a job. I didn't find anything else about this case concerning this officer and that young man. And this happened in 2021, like I said. I apologize for the coughing. I've been a little under the weather, but we here to make it do what it do, regardless. All right. And so, like I said, I was researching this story in particular, and so I came across other situations with the Baton Rouge Police Department. This happened in February, right? Here's a story that took place in March. The investigators, Jackson police on leave, accused a choking teen at a gas station. This is an entirely different teenage child who was choked by the police officers a month after the video of the other child we just saw. let's go ahead, and I'm gonna go ahead and play this news story for you all so you can get a better context of what's happening here. Okay, here we go.
Elizabeth Val along with Greg Merriweather. So how did pulling into this gas station end in Jackson end up with a teen choked by someone sworn to protect and serve?
So the teen's family claims an officer with the Jackson Marshal's office attacked the teen and also called him a racial slur. While the agency tries to sort out exactly what happened, our lead investigator, Scotty Hunter, he's pushing them to find out why one crucial piece of evidence is missing.
Bobby King is outraged after he says his 16-year-old son was attacked by an officer in Jackson.
It's not right, and I'm not going to stop fighting it either.
It all happened around 1 o'clock in the morning about 3 weeks ago when his son Braylon pulled in here at the Main Street gas station. He says this officer, Clay Depew, immediately got aggressive, cursing at the teen and telling him to leave. Here's surveillance video from outside the store the night of the incident. You can see the officer out near several cars responding to some kind of unrelated situation. King says his son's truck was parked right behind this red truck you see right here, and that's why the store's cameras didn't catch what happened. But at one point, King claims Officer Depew called his son the N-word and choked him.
And it really hurt me, and it still hurt me. For me to know that that happened to him at his age, he'll probably never get over that.
King tells me the situation was so bad, another officer had to step in, pulling Officer Depew off his son. He now wonders how far things would have gone if the other officer wasn't there.
Well, I hear it all the time, and I see it on the news. I never thought it happened to my kid, especially that age.
He was assaulted, berated, and abused by this officer.
Tonight, we know Officer Depew is on leave while the Jackson Marshal's office investigates. But King's attorney, Ron Haley, questions how far that investigation will go.
How confident are you that this police department is going to look into this thoroughly?
We only can hope so. I'm not going to hold my breath because I've seen this happen before. I've seen cases in the state with our lead agency, this Louisiana State Police, take 19, 20 months, 2 years to investigate wrongdoings of their officers.
The 9 News investigators tried to get the Jackson Marshal's office side of the story. The office is inside the same building as the police department. We requested the body and dash cam footage of the encounter, but a representative with the Marshal's office tells us the agency does not have dash cams and no body camera footage was recorded. When we asked to clarify what happened to that video or whether the officer had a camera and it was just turned off, we were told that is part of the investigation. We asked the Marshal's office point blank if any of their officers have body cameras in general. The person we spoke with said they couldn't answer that and that was also part of the investigation.
But in this case, there is no body camera video. How concerning is that for you?
I mean, listen, we have seen this movie play out. What is the point of having body cams if they're not going to be turned on?
I don't trust them, period. I do not trust them. They got the camera, why it's not on?
The attorney and the teen's family say the public deserves to know why there's no video of what happened and the officer needs to be held accountable.
If my client's allegations are true, then a crime was committed against a kid. And we want more than just him being fired, we want him to be arrested as well.
If the table was turned and he put his hands on the police officer, he'd have went to jail. So I would love for him to go to jail, and I'm not gonna give up on it.
Now tonight we do know the officer involved in this has not even been interviewed yet about what happened. It's unclear at this point how soon that investigation will wrap up, but guys, we'll continue to stay on top of it.
All right. So the officer involved in choking his 16-year-old has not even been interviewed by his department about the situation. But I guarantee you someone from his union or his police chief came to him and said, well, you're lucky. They didn't catch it on surveillance video at that gas station, so we're just going to make it go away. And that's what they're doing. That's what they did. They're making it go away because if it was surveillance footage from the gas station, then they would have to investigate and, go through the entire process. But if they got a way to say that it didn't happen, it's going to make it to where it's a 16-year-old who was out at 1 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock a.m. against a police officer. And 9 times out of 10, they always going to believe the police officer over anybody, let alone a black 16-year-old out at 1 a.m. So how is it that their dash cams, whether or not they had a dash cam in the police car, that's under investigation. Either they do or they don't. Did he have a body cam? It's under investigation. Why? Either he did or he didn't. Do any of the officers at your department have body cameras? That's under investigation too. You see what I'm saying? They're simply trying to sweep it under the rug. They're trying to hide the footage, just so it can be a matter of his word, the 16-year-old's word, against the police officers. And because of that stalemate, they're just going to toss it out and continue on with the status quo. That's corruption for you. That's pure, unadulterated, cut corruption for the entire nation to see. So then I came, this story, I'm like, wow, this happened a month after. What's this with police officers choking people? What's with these police officers in Louisiana choking teenagers? Came across another story. This happened in May. The title of this, it says, Baton Rouge reaches $35,000 settlement with family after police strip search teen and enter home without a warrant. You heard that, right? Now, I don't want you to think. Now, I read a little bit of this article, and I saw like 15 seconds of the video. That other video I just showed you, I saw the entire thing. But this one, I saw about 15 seconds, then I was like, hey, I'm going to cut it off. This is something I want to experience with my anonymous family. So I cut it off, and we'll analyze that. But from what little I've watched of this situation and what I read, the title gives you the impression that they strip searched the young men, the teens, in the house that they entered without a warrant. But that's not what happened. In broad daylight, these police officers strip searched two males out in public and fondled them. I don't know. I didn't get that far into the video. So I don't know at what point did they also just say, we're going to walk into their place of their residence too. But to strip search someone in broad daylight in public, it doesn't get hardly any more inhumane and barbaric than that. And again, this is in Louisiana, man. Louisiana seems to have a history of mistreating and violating the civil rights and also the human rights of black people. So I'm going to go ahead and play the video.
And tonight, disturbing video has surfaced of a police officer in Baton Rouge strip searching a 16-year-old and his older brother during a traffic stop in broad daylight. That officer is now under investigation, and we warn you, the video is hard to watch. Here's CBS's Jeff Pegues.
There's at least 3 or 4 people in the car.
Within minutes after a traffic stop on New Year's Day in 2020, Clarence Green is standing in the street behind an SUV with his pants down and his underwear exposed.
Hey, stop.
Come on, bro. You can't do that, bro.
I can.
The officer groping him in public in a search for drugs. And then Green's 16-year-old brother is searched in the same manner.
Come on.
Thomas Frampton is the Green family attorney.
I think what's captured in the video bears a closer resemblance to sexual assault than it does to constitutional policing. The officers involved were clearly outside the bounds of anything that the Supreme Court has said is permissible for law enforcement officers to do.
Later, body camera footage shows an officer entering the Green family home with his gun drawn and without a warrant. Officers did find a gun in the search, and Clarence Green ended up spending 5 months in jail until a judge ordered his immediate release, after determining that officers demonstrated a serious and wanton disregard for the defendant's constitutional rights.
You think I'm playing with you? I will you up.
Tonight, the Baton Rouge Police Department told us that it had conducted an internal investigation, but the officers involved in the incident remain on the job.
We're not going to dirty your clothes.
It will be up to the police chief to decide whether the officers will face any sort of discipline.
I think there's a lot of work there to be done by the chief of the Baton Rouge Police Department to determine if policies and procedures were followed. If they were not, then disciplinary action should follow.
Nora, it turns out the police reports in the investigation had been revised nearly a dozen times. The family did file a federal lawsuit but settled for $35,000.
Jeff Pegues.
Wow. Just wow. The first thing I picked up that some of you may not have picked up on at the very beginning was when the young man
and his older brother during
let me see. Right here. About right here. The young man says, this is absolutely sexual assault, bro. And any other officer that was there participating in this shit is foul. If I'm a police officer and I see my partner or any other officer doing some bullshit like this, I'm stepping in, man. Like, hey. What the fuck is going on here? This isn't right. You know? Police never, you're hiring people who just allow others to do any goddamn thing. How is these people still on the job? This is fucking sexual assault. But as we've seen in just this small amount of time of me being with you all showing you these stories, it's pretty clear and obviously consistent that the Baton Rouge police have permission to do these things that they're doing. Because in the 3 stories that I've showed you, none of these officers has been punished. None of them. So it went from simply choking a 16-year-old at a gas station to now they're choking 13-year-olds on the ground and inflicting purposeful pain on them, to now they're strip searching black young men in the streets. Not only that, they're going to these young men's homes without warrants and their guns drawn in their house and arresting them for whatever they find in there, as if they had a legal search warrant. It should not have taken 5 months for a judge to review this case and realize that that was an illegal search and seizure, and he should have been out of jail. Who are these guys' public defender? It doesn't take 5 months to realize, hey, these men's constitutional rights have been seriously violated to the highest degree. From the very first time that he was sentenced or got his first hearing, the judge who was reviewing the reason why he was in jail in the first place should have said, oh no, this is unconstitutional. Throw that out. He goes home immediately. He shouldn't have been there longer than, if he got arrested on a Friday, he should have been out on Monday. But for 5 months, the constitutional rights of black people, if they do exist, they can be held off and waited on. There's no sense of urgency to stand up for the rights of black people. It's pretty obvious that your age in the system of white supremacy does not prevent you from being targeted. As grievous and as low down as they can get, these police officers will do it. Because like I said, these police officers are simply wearing costumes. They're the same people you see walking up the street every single day. They're just like the normal, everyday American citizen. And too many American citizens have mental issues. They're psychopathic, sociopathic, deranged, perverted, sick individuals. And these same people who put on this police uniform once they get the job and act out their most disgusting fantasies on the most vulnerable of American society, which is black people. And the system gives them that permission to do so because it doesn't punish them. Anytime someone does something wrong, they get punished, right? Children, when they do something wrong, they get punished. You do something wrong at work, you get punished. You get suspended. You get fired. You get your pay docked. Something along those lines. When these police officers are doing some egregious, terrible actions to black people and they're not being punished, that's the sign that they are allowed to do it. And that's why it keeps happening. Because the police officers picked up on that. They realized that hey, if that department or this officer or this chief isn't punishing me for what I did, then it's allowed. It's like an unspoken rule that the rights of black people don't need to be respected. You don't even have to have a discussion about it. You don't have to have a secret recording talking about it. Simply by not punishing the officers who violate the rights of others, simply by not punishing them, you're sending out the message that it's allowed. But you have to also look at who are they being punished when they do it. Are they being punished when it happens to white people? Yeah, most certainly, a vast majority of the time. Are they punished when they do it to Latinos, Hispanic people? Yeah, probably half the time. They don't have it as nice as the Caucasians, but they got it better than the blacks. Now, are these police officers being punished when they do it to the black people? Hardly, if ever. Even when they kill you. Even when they kill us. All these situations where the police are allowed to go unpunished are situations that tell other police officer it's fair game. Now, back to what I was saying. I picked up on this at the very beginning of the video when I first started. Now, this young man says, hey, you can't do that. And I want you to listen to the disgusting, perverted voice that the police officer says, yes, I can. Listen closely. This police officer, literally, he's hearing the young man saying, hey, you can't do this. But the way he answered by saying, yes, I can, you can tell his mind and eyes was focused on this young man's genitalia. This is sexual misconduct. This is sexual assault. Listen closely, y'all. Listen to how he says, yes, I can.
Is standing in the street behind an SUV with his pants down and his underwear exposed.
Hey, stop. Come on, bro. You can't do that, bro. I can.
You heard him? You heard him? You heard him? He said, I can. He said he was a little sassy with it too, wasn't he? He said, I can. No, the fuck you can't. Sir. You can't. He should have been fired. He should be in jail. And every other officer who was standing around while that bullshit happened, while they had these men behind a fucking truck in public with their penises and their ass out, just standing around while that shit happens, and they could have been having them on body camera and all that shit. This is beyond the violation of constitutional rights, G. This shit goes into human rights on a United Nations type of level, on a United Nations Charter type of violation. Members of the United States military have more decency in times of war not to do these such things. But the police officers in your state think it's absolutely okay to pull your pants down and pretend like you're having drugs in your goddamn pee hole. At what point do you searching this man's vehicle, do you just say, all right, he probably ain't got nothing? You know? You really have to dig into. You believe that black men are such criminals that when they say, hey, I'm not having drugs, I don't have any drugs, and you search their vehicle and you don't find the drugs, you search their pockets and you don't find drugs, your next thought is, well, he must have them in his ass. No. This cop and every officer with him were just some very sick, perverted people. And they should not be on the police force. And the very fact that these men are still on the police force lets you know that the corruption in this police force goes all the way to the top. I want to play it again. And I want you to focus on that conversation, that 2-second conversation of the victim saying, "You can't do that." And the officer saying, "No, stop." He's telling him, "Hey, stop holding your pants up while I'm trying to pull them down." And he says, "You can't do that." He says, "I can." Real sassy. Almost, you know how words have energy, words have power. And the energy I got off of him saying, "I can," was, oh, this turns me on. I can do this, and I'm willing to risk my fucking job just so I can see your junk. Oh, I can do this, and the fact that he's still on the police force, I guess he was right. He can do that. I'm gonna play it again. This is quite disturbing, man. It's just sick. All right. Y'all get ready. Turn your volumes up. Put your ear closer to whatever speaker you're using. Here we go.
Down and his underwear exposed.
Hey, stop. Come on, bro. You can't do that, bro. I can.
The officer groping him in public in a search for drugs.
You caught that? I can. What the fuck is going on, man? How have things gotten to this point? Whose fault is it? We as black people we have to bear some of the responsibility of how it's gotten to this level. Unfortunately, them groping you and pulling your pants down and touching your genitals in public isn't as bad as them shooting you in the street and leaving your body on the concrete for hours like they did to brother Mike Brown out there in Missouri. It's not worse than that. But to your spirit, it might as well be. The damage that can be done to a person's psyche, the damage that can be done to a person's soul when they're violated on this level, and they get no reprise, no reprieve, no justice. That sort of pain and hurt can last a lifetime. It can cause you to self-harm or self-delete, man. And I believe they said they settled for $35,000, hush money, shut up money, go away money. That ain't shit. I'm going to read a little bit of the article. The officer is now under investigation. The city settled with the family for $35,000. When you take those settlements low key, in a way, police department use that as your judgment of you not want to go further with pressing charges. That's why it's very risky to take these settlements that's offered to you before you get justice. Take the settlement after a trial or a court decision or whatever. Because when you take it before, they're going to see that and use that when they talk to a judge or a grand jury to say that, to show that whatever grievous or harm that's been done to you has been rectified and solved and taken care of. So if you ever get in a situation or you know someone in a situation, you make sure you tell them to wait on the settlement till after a judge's decision on whether they're going to press charges or not, because most of the time all you hear is just people getting money. Even when these black men and women are shot by police officers and killed, even before a judge says they're guilty or not guilty, they start tossing out numbers to the family to pay them off. Usually that's because they use the fact that you took the money as some sort of plea that you not really interested in filing charges. So you be careful with that. Okay. It says what's captured in the video bears a closer resemblance to sexual assault than it does to constitutional policing. The officer involved were clearly outside the bounds of anything that the Supreme Court has said is permissible for law enforcement officers to do. Obviously, even the officer knew that, you know? But he still had the fucking nerve and audacity to tell the victim he can do that. He can do it because he knew he'll get away with it. He constitutionally, legally, he can't. But what the hell does the Constitution and legality matter when your entire police department is going to make it go away? It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how illegal it is. If the state's prosecution and your police department and your union working, making sure that you face no harm and no charges, who cares if it's constitutional or not? It is illegal. He knew that. But he knew he can do it because he wasn't going to face any repercussions for it. And as we've seen in all these 3 cases that I shared with you all about the state of Louisiana, is that the Louisiana, and this is only Baton Rouge. This isn't even the entire state of Louisiana. This is simply a small town, a small city in Louisiana, Baton Rouge. And you've seen 3 different instances of police grievously violating the rights of minors, of black minors in that town, in that city. That reminded me of Lil Boosie. Now, I remember Boosie, you all, if you catch some of his interviews he do with Vlad TV, he's on there often, and he often speaks about why he left Baton Rouge. And he said he left Baton Rouge because the police are corrupt. They would try to set him up. They would try to have him killed. Not because of him being, a criminal or doing a crime. They would set him up. He said they would put a gun in his car and had to have him locked up as a felon in possession of a weapon. He said most rappers who get famous should leave the city that they're in, because as you've seen, most rappers die in the city that they're born in. He said that's why he left. It was only a matter of time before they would have set him up, either to do life in prison or to get killed. The police would have. He doesn't have the best relationship with the police, obviously, he said, but I'm going to show some clips from his Vlad TV interview. These are very short but very precise clips. I don't want to get hit with copyright thinking that I need Vlad TV's interviews to do any of my videos. But it just goes perfectly into a point that I was making about the corruption in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And to have Lil Boosie, who's from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, speak about his run-ins with the police department, it's so vital and so needed that I include that information in my video. So I'm going to go ahead and include it. Take a look at what Boosie has to say.
You grew up in Baton Rouge. Now you live in Atlanta. Now, at what point did you actually move to Atlanta?
I moved to Atlanta like 6 months after my release from prison. After my release from prison, I had to wait for the paperwork to get cleared, and I moved straight to Atlanta like 5-6 months after my release.
You did an interview with Rolling Stone, and they talk about if you would ever live in Baton Rouge again, and you said, no, hell no, never. I would never live in Baton Rouge again. My past is too strong for me to go live down there. I'm always repping. I'm always shout out Baton Rouge. That's my hometown because I love it. That's where I'm from. But me living there, associating with the people out there, that's not going to happen.
Right.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, like my past is too strong out there. You got to understand that I had a big problem with the court system and district attorneys, prosecutors. A lot of people was trying to take my life as far as, in the court system. And not only then I made songs about, I was childish, man. I made songs about public officials and things like that, man. And those people don't forget that. And I don't trust people like that. It's nothing for them and me to be riding down the street and they just stop and throw a gun in my car. Convicted felon with a firearm, man. That's how I think, man. Like, I had the biggest case. They spent millions of dollars on my case, man, and lost, man. So, man, like that. I'm a problem to these people. I didn't call officers names. Like, these people don't forget that, man. Also, I was a target in Baton Rouge. Like, Baton Rouge is small, man. When I'm the only one riding in Bentleys and all these foreign cars, you become a target. Not only you're a target, you're rapping about these people. Your house is 10 times the size of their house. That would make me dislike me if I was on the other side. Because I'm rapping about these people, I'm shining, man. So I'm cocky. I was a cocky asshole, man. And those people don't forget stuff like that, man. They don't. I always had problems with the police out there, man. They used to stop me every day, man. They used to cut my seats up, man. Come in my house and steal from me, man. Take my rings, just do crazy stuff that I'll never forget. Also I had haters out there. And it's always like that. Wherever you from, you will get hated the most. Most rappers die in their own city, man. It's a fact. And that's why I decided to move to Atlanta. If I'm dealing with music, this is a place I need to be. Everybody ride foreign cars out here. I won't be pulled over. I haven't been pulled over since I've been out here, but to take a picture and get an autograph. They respect stars out here, man. They don't hate stars just because you're a star. They don't. That's how it is in Louisiana. If you go back, all Louisiana rappers, the big timers, they was ran out of Louisiana, man, because of hatred. Baby and Wayne, hatred, man. Master P, they ran him out the country club, man, just hatred, man. C Murder, he's in prison. Mac, he's in prison. And it's just not a place to be, man. It's a lot going on in that state that's not 100, man. That's not fair, even from the laws, even from the sentencing, even from the education is poor. Everything is it's a hard state, man, and I just wasn't with it, man, and I'll never move back down there. I would never move back into that. I would be crazy for moving back to Baton Rouge. Like it won't happen. I just go down there if I gotta do a show, get my money, and I'm gone.
Now you heard it from the infamous Boosie himself about his run-ins with the police officers and the justice system and the district attorneys and prosecution's office out there in Baton Rouge, in Louisiana, in New Orleans. He is even aware of their corruption, and he's given that advice for a lot of rappers, and especially these young up-and-coming rappers, to get out of the city that they grew up in because of the sheer amount of hate that they generate from people who may know you or know of you personally. That's where hate comes from people who have some sort of close association or know someone with close associations with you, who grew up when you all were poor together, and then to see you shine and see you out there, that builds contempt in their heart. It's not even focused at you, but it's the contempt and hatred and disappointment they feel within themselves. And they project that onto you. And they'll take your life for it. And the same thing as he mentioned with the police. The police will sit up there and torment you because they'll tell you because it's about the stuff you rap about, or about your lyrics, or about the image you portray. But really, what's it all about? It's only about their jealousy, their insecurities. Like I said, these police officers, are just the normal, everyday people you see in the street with problems, except they just wear a costume. We put too much credit on them because of that costume, and every day, at least in my eyes, it's showing me that at one point, perhaps the idea of police were to be the best of society, but it's getting to the point where police are now becoming the worst of society. But I thank all of you out there for taking the time to listen to me. If you would, please hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. I bring stories like this and different other stories and from all different aspects of American society and America's relationship to black people. I bring all those stories here at one place where we can watch and learn and grow together. Do it anonymously. But at least let me know that you're out there. Hit that like button, subscribe button. Let me know what you think, okay? You can be anonymous, but at least let me know that you exist. I want you all to take care out there, okay? My name is Scott, by the way. And if you ever find yourself in a run-in with the police, I want you to remember that any issue that you have with the police in that moment, your first option should be the 3 F's. Don't fuss, don't fight, don't flee. Now you do those 3 F's if you are not prepared or capable of getting maximum compensatory justice. And I don't think that I need to go into explanation of what that is, but those in my anonymous society, those who find knowledge in the shadows, you know what that means. It doesn't have to be spelled out for you. So if you're not in the position or capable of getting that maximum compensatory justice, that's when you just go to the 3 F's. Don't fuss, don't fight, don't flee. Every issue that you have can be handled in the court system. Save all that anger and animosity and guide it towards the court to get justice. Because it's obvious that you won't get it by the police who's standing in your face violating your rights. So just do what they say and hit them where it hurts. Hit the city where it hurts. Hit them in the pockets if you can't hit them somewhere else. Take care.